Hey everybody, this is Muse, and before we get into this week's episode of O&A Detox, I just wanted to give you all some trigger and content warnings.
Extreme racism and bigotry, homophobia, transphobia, sexual assault and rape, misogyny, and violence towards people of color.
It's a rough one, I'm not gonna lie. We talk about Anthony's show with Gavin McInnes, so you can just guess which directions those conversations are gonna end up going. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, I wanted to let y'all know that the show is now on Spotify. So if you look up Going Off on Spotify, it'll bring you to the page. We're sharing an RSS feed right now. So it's on the same SoundCloud as the Going Off podcast, so it's on that same channel. Because I'm including a lot of videos from Anthony and Gavin's show, so there's a lot of video elements in that regard, so I'm going to be including those on the YouTube feed. And I'm sorry in advance, this is the first of 2 parts, because we only got through half the clips and already ended up going about 2 hours, so we had to split it up. So we're going to be talking more about Gavin McInnes and his bullshit next time. So if you like this episode, great news! If not, I'm sorry. Everybody, it's O&A Detox time once again with Neb and Muse.
O&A Detox time.
So, if this is your first time listening and you don't know exactly what this is about, we go through the history of the Opie and Anthony show from their humble beginnings to modern day. We follow Anthony from a tin knocker and Opie as a caddy and doing radio in college, to their days in WNEW New York, to XM Satellite Radio, to where we are today. And that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about where Anthony Cumia is today.
Oh, yeah.
Because we wanted to go in chronological order, but if we were to do that, we would never talk about Compound Media for years from now. So I think what makes sense is we do a little bit in order. They would jump ahead a little bit, talk about that, and kind of go back and forth. Because I think this is important in when we're talking about how they got to where they are, and we never talk about where they are,
yeah,
the audience isn't going to know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've given enough of a glimpse as to how the show got started. We talked about their days in Boston up until their firing. They get picked up and they get hired in New York, but we'll talk about that probably next time.
Oh, okay.
This time I want to talk about Compound Media, or the Anthony Cumia Network, how it came to be, and share some clips from some recent episodes and discuss them. But before we get to any of that, we need to talk about why Anthony was fired from Sirius in the first place.
Oh, yeah, I guess we haven't gotten...
We've touched on it, and we've alluded to it, but we haven't gone into the specifics. I hate to admit this, but I sunk a few dollars into this project. First, I bought the audiobook of Anthony's book because I didn't feel like reading it.
Audiobooks are real reading, too. So you can't deny you read the book.
I did read it first, yes. And seeing as how the audiobook is in Anthony's own words and voice, we get to listen to him read it.
Oh.
So that's fun.
I
also bought a day's pass to the Compound Media website to record an episode, which I'm annoyed now because I find that Internet Archive, someone has been uploading every episode from this year. I mean, the episode I was looking for wasn't from this year, but if I looked hard enough, I probably would have been able to find it for free. So that's good to know for future reference. I sunk $4 into a day's pass, and I think the audiobook was like $5 on sale from $20.
Oh my god, so it's a tax write-off.
Sure, yeah, we'll work on that. So first I want to play for you Anthony's description of the events, and then I want to give you the truth about it.
Oh, right, yeah.
I just finished doing the TV show Red Eye on Fox News, and I went over to a great karaoke bar, Tonic, to sing a few tunes. It was around 3:30 a.m., and I decided that since I had this great camera on me, as well as a few drinks in my system, it would be a good idea to take some pictures of Times Square, the most photographed place on earth, right? It wasn't this odd thing like, what's this guy doing taking pictures this time of night? It's actually the perfect time to snap a few pics there, because there aren't many people around and it's still all lit up and perfect to shoot. On this night, there was scaffolding on the sidewalk, and the bare light bulbs hanging down made this great tunnel effect going toward where they dropped the ball for New Year's Eve. I thought it made a great shot. I started snapping, and the camera was loud. It was a Canon reflex that made that sound. There was a girl on the sidewalk walking away from me, and she heard the camera and all of a sudden turned around and said, Then she was running toward me like a lion after an antelope, calling me a white motherfucker, and started smacking me in the fucking face. I was taking shots to my head. They were open-handed smacks. She was screaming, "You don't take pictures of me." I told her I wasn't taking pictures of you. There was no talking to her. She was in a rage, but I never felt that she was even close to threatening my life. And she wasn't hurting me. I was pissed, but I wasn't going to do anything, certainly not retaliate physically. Then a couple of guys came over. "Don't you put your hands on her." I said, "I'm not touching her." I was putting my hands up to stop her from hitting me, and the other one down to protect the camera and my balls. I totally de-escalated the situation and went back to my apartment, which was 2 blocks away. I got there and was fuming, full of piss and vinegar. I was really angry, so I decided to do what any grown man in my position would do. I tweeted. If I'd made any mistake, it was tweeting some social commentary along with a detailed description of what I had just gone through. If I had just documented what had happened, it might have been one thing. But I wrote some stuff like, "This woman was an animal," "savage behavior." I never said anything racist about it, however. It's amazing how social media misinterpreted my account of the assault on me and my anger toward this despicable person as being racist. For the record, I am not and have never been racist. I judge people as individuals. I know the reputation I've got over the years, and I play that off. I make jokes about it. If someone brings up racial issues, I push it to the furthest I could take it. But it's funny. It's a joke. I'm playing off the reputation I've gotten off people who really don't know me from a hole in the wall. Truthfully, it does bother me that I'm falsely associated with this stigma because things like this on the internet live forever, and there's no knocking them down.
Okay.
We just said you were playing off of your reputation, this stigma. Oh, and now it's bad. Now it's a stigma.
He does tell the truth in that he has said racist things on the show before, so in that regard, it's nothing new. But he downplays the tweets substantially. And luckily, like Anthony says here, things on the internet are forever.
Screenshots can't get deleted.
I have the tweets, and I'd like to read them. So these tweets are from Anthony's verified Twitter account, by the way.
Check mark.
He did, in fact, have a verified account at one point, at Anthony Cumia. I'm just going to read these in order. And yeah, I'm going to preface this segment and the whole episode with this episode's going to deal with some very heavy racial, racist material. I'll give more specific trigger warnings later throughout the episode, but for right now, I think it's basically misogyny, sexism, but very heavily leaning on the racism. This first tweet, by the way, is timed at 2:36 a.m. So I'm taking pics in New York City, and a black girl who was in frame punched me in the face. I called her a fucking, in quotes, 6 characters, just at symbol, $, commas, 'cause that's what she was. Then she punched me 5 more times. She's lucky I was a white legal gun owner or she'd be dead. Then 5 blacks started giving me shit.
Jesus.
I told them to back the fuck off, this wasn't their show. The cunt then punched me again. Seems white boys don't hit back. Lucky savage. Wish a cop was around. Although she said she'd tell them I sexually harassed her. Lying cunt. I hope she gets shot in her ass fuck face. They aren't people. I'm fucking livid. If I was an illegal savage, I'd have her shot.
What?
The IR violence in her was so predictable, I hope she gets killed. It's a jungle out in our cities after midnight. Violent savages own the streets. They all came to defend this pig. I had to yell at them like dogs. Did you get any pictures of her? Yup. Animal pig fuck cunt bitch. One person says, what the fuck? For no reason? Reason? I was white.
Wow.
Savage violent animal fucks prey on white people. Easy targets. This cunt has no clue how lucky she was. She belted me 10 times. I had a gun. The cunt animal kept walking into my arm, and I had to block saying, don't touch me. Then would hit me. I hope a homeboy beats her to death. The automatic jump to violence in that community is astounding. No discussion. It's start punching at the least little thing. Uncivilized. The switch to violence is immediate. No discussion, just violence. When will that be addressed? Oh right, never. Slavery did it. Oh okay. There's a deep-seated problem with violence in the black community. Try to address it, and you'll be exiled to Racistville. But it's real. Then also puts a picture of the woman's face
Jesus.
on his Twitter. Great pic of the cunt rag, bitch, fuck, animal, pig face, worthless, meat sack, shit pile, stink crotch, ass, shit stain, bong, ... ran out of characters, I guess.
So let's point out why this is in fact racist, and just because he didn't outright say the N-word still means it is racist. He's comparing an entire race of people to animals, dehumanizing them.
They are not people.
He literally quotes saying they are not people.
A tweet on its own.
Yeah.
That is a tweet. Just, they are not people, that's the tweet.
Yeah, and claiming that they are more violent
Savages.
And savages is
a lot.
Already a terrible word. It's I cannot think of a way that savage could be used that is not racist in some way at this point.
Yeah. Making numerous references to wishing death upon this woman. Saying that he had a gun and that he could have used it if he wanted to.
Yeah.
So yeah, he downplays it a lot.
And then also the violence of nearly doxing this person by just showing an image of her face on his Twitter to all of his Twitter people who can now try to do they could possibly go and fucking hurt her if they ever see her, or someone who looks like her.
Yeah. Yeah, and the pictures are blurry enough that it could, y'all could make the argument that, it could be any of these women.
Oh, I work with a woman that looks like that somehow, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And let's not act like that doesn't happen all the fucking time, like we're jumping to conclusions. That's something that does happen all the fucking time. And someone like Anthony, who has a fucking rabid following like he does, are the kind of people that would do that.
Arguably, Anthony has shown red flags of being racist since his inception in radio.
The thing that got him in the door on Opie's radio show was his O.J. Simpson parody song, in which he wore blackface in the music video.
Yeah.
And the night on the Opie show, they played 2 more parody songs about Cuban refugees.
So, you were aware of those when you were younger.
Yes.
Much younger.
Yeah.
And if I were to have said to you when you were that age, this is racist, how do you think that you might have reacted to that?
I probably would have been defensive.
Right, and I'm wondering what argument you would have brought forward, because I feel like as white people, a majority of us have had times where it's just like, oh, I like this person. Someone says, oh, no, that person's racist. And if we like that person enough, we're going to go into that defensive mode and be like, no, that's not racist, though. And it's like, where do we as white people draw the line as to what is racism? As if we have the right to draw that line. But, we do try to do that.
Something we'll notice as we go through the timeline, in the WNEW days, racism, especially when it comes to Anthony, doesn't come up, if we're talking comparatively to the XM days, not nearly as much. Mm-hmm. On the XM days, when you can say whatever you want, there's no FCC regulations to it.
Yeah.
Or at least there weren't at the time. I don't know if that still works. I think that the rationale was that it was subscription-based, and subscription-based things aren't...
Oh, it's almost like a private club. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to have a liquor license in a private club, but you can still serve alcohol because it's just a private club.
Not everyone can just stumble upon this audio. They have to be paying for it, and I guess in that way they sign off that they acknowledge. And especially that there are radio stations, like the one that O and A were on, that were XL stations that you had to opt in even with your subscription.
Yeah.
You had to say that you wanted those stations. There would be a rap station that'd be censored, and then there'd be another one that was uncensored, but you couldn't get that one unless you opted in.
Right.
So you know what you're getting into 100%. And we'll notice it, especially around Obama's election. People point and cite that episode as being when Anthony goes over the deep end. I would say, up to that point, Anthony's racism was played off like a quirk. Whenever he would talk about racism, it would always be in relation to his paranoia. It would always be about break-ins, muggings, and it would be pretty much limited to him reacting to those things that he's seeing on the news. It would be laughed off on the show. Like, Jim Norton would make fun of how racist Anthony is, and it would become a joke of like, wow, look at this lunatic.
Yeah.
Listen to how ridiculous he sounds. And in that way, they kind of skirted past it. He would never echo Anthony's racist sentiments.
Yeah.
He would laugh it off, be like, wow, it's so funny that Anthony's a racist. It's so funny that Anthony's a gun nut. And a big part of him being a gun nut is out of self-defense based on his racism. So Anthony is fired on July 3rd, 2014, I think is the next day. The channel, which at this point was referred to as the Opie and Anthony channel, is renamed to SiriusXM Talk on the 14th. Since 2011, Anthony's been doing occasional free live streams on Ustream from the basement of his huge mansion whenever he felt like it. He would get drunk, pop on, take some phone calls from listeners, and basically just do a side solo show in relation to the regular show.
Yeah.
A friend of his, who I'll tell the backstory here in a second, Keith, his friend Keith the cop. He had met Keith when they were putting out a call for a police uniform for their intern, regrettably nicknamed Spaz, to wear as part of a Village People-themed birthday party that they were putting on for a listener in the studio. So they were like, hey, can anyone get us a costume? Can anyone get us a police uniform? This guy Keith called up and said, yeah, I'm a cop. I can get you one. If you ever need some help with a cop particularly, give me a call. Keith's wife, Angie, becomes Anthony's personal assistant and decorated his huge house. Because at this point now, Keith and Angie are Anthony's personal support system. And Anthony says in his book that he's been living in his mansion for like a year, and he's got like beanbag chairs, and like people have been coming over to the mansion a year in and being like, did you just move in? There's no furnishing.
All I had was a folding card table with my computer on it to play video games, a plasma television, and a Mets beanbag chair that I would drink red wine on while watching TV. The entire rest of the house was empty. Ange decorated the whole house, and when she was done, I hired her to take care of all the incidentals, including my home and everything else. I don't think I could function without her.
Anthony credits Keith with being the one who had the idea for him to do a show from his basement studio after being fired. Up to this point, he'd been doing the live streams on Ustream with no schedule. Anthony launches a subscription-based Anthony Cumia network 5 days after being fired from Sirius, with his first show airing on August 4th, 2014.
So like a month later.
The Gavin McInnes show. Gavin McInnes is a huge part of the episode today. All the clips I have are from Anthony's show featuring Gavin. Hosted by Gavin McInnes, the show launched June 15th, 2015 and aired on Mondays and Thursdays. It was announced in August 22nd that Gavin would be leaving the network. He eventually formed Censored.tv, which is his own website where people like Maya Yiannopoulos, Soph, if anyone remembers Soph, she's like a racist teenager who was on YouTube, and I think she got kicked off. So it's basically just it's a resort, an island for people who have been kicked off other networks
Yeah.
for their racist shit.
Where they don't have to be held accountable.
Yeah, to come here with like-minded people and, you know, have shows with people who claim to want debates. But then when you look at the station, it's all people that agree with each other.
I want to point something out. A lot of, like, bigoted people like to think, like, oh, well, if you want to be free in this way and safe from, like, you know, discrimination, then you should go live on your own island, because you're not, you know, everyone's discriminatory. They like to throw that around where it's like, everyone has prejudice.
Yeah.
Then when they have, like, their own little resort, like you say, like their own little, their safe place, what would these people's point of life be if they didn't have people to be bigoted against? They would think of a group.
There's enough subsects in Christianity that they will eventually turn on themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, it's a flaw. It is a flaw in logic that you need to pinpoint groups of people to hate. Fucking figure your shit out. Go to therapy.
I mean, yeah, honestly, a good bit of the things we have to talk about today, a big summation could just be go to therapy.
Yeah, especially with Anthony, because
God,
when you said he was living here for so long and he only had like he didn't have any furnishings really, it's like that's a huge red flag. Like,
you look at it and you're like, why did you need that? It's a huge house with nothing in it. What's the point?
That's such a great metaphor for him.
Yeah.
He's this huge name, relatively speaking. And
at one point.
And, I mean, like, he's still huge to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, like, he has no substance. There's nothing inside but a beanbag chair and a cocktail bar and a basement where he screams his shit from.
Yeah. So Gavin splits off to do Censored TV. I tried to pull it up to see if there was anything worth pointing out, like different shows, but I basically mentioned all the ones that people would actually know about outside of this sphere. Talking about Anthony's co-hosts, because he lands on Gavin McInnes, but he only has Gavin on Wednesdays. Every other day of the week, I think he does Monday through Thursday. The other 3 days, it's just him, and I think it's like a revolving door of co-hosts.
Yeah.
But in 2017, he announced the addition of comedian and actor Artie Lang as the co-host of the show, The Artie and Anthony Show. Artie Lang is someone from Howard Stern's circle. I guess after he had his fallout with Howard, Anthony saw something in him and wanted to bring him on.
So someone who fell out with Howard Stern.
Yeah. The AA show, hilariously enough, because Anthony and Artie are both alcoholics,
There you go.
lasted 8 months. Officially started on September 5th, 2017, but was consistently inconsistent in its hosting, setting up Lang as frequently absent or only present for parts of the show. The absences were due to Lang's ongoing problems with addiction and some legal troubles that included incarceration and at least one stint in a rehab facility. In May 2018, Lang would take an indefinite hiatus from the show, and it would revert to the name of The Anthony Cumia Show, with third mic Dave Landau continuing as co-host. The show title switched to The Anthony Cumia Show with Dan Landau until Landau left in March 21st to join Louder with Steven Crowder. You just jump from one racist show to another.
You know your group.
Yeah.
If you weren't racist, why do you associate yourself with racists?
There's a very good answer to that. A lot of people who worked with Opie and Anthony gravitate with Anthony still. And it's because the same reason people who work with InfoWars stick with InfoWars for as long as they do. You're damaged goods now. People will always look at you as being associated. Very few people are lucky enough, like Sam Roberts, who worked on the Opie and Anthony show.
Oh, yeah.
Still has his own show with Jim Norton, was hired by WWE. But there are other people who aren't so lucky, and they get dragged down with Opie and Anthony, so they can't get work anywhere else.
Yeah, I know you had mentioned how you sort of wish that you had pursued more connections in, like, because you contributed some videos and stuff, and...
I specifically said that I wished I would have created more of a connection with Ron and Fez.
That's right, I got it. I'm still getting the two shows confused.
Right, no, I totally get that.
Just in my brain.
I mean, they did run together for a long time.
Yeah, it's still the same circle within that period of time.
I had done some music videos for Ron and Fez, and They're actually uploaded to the O&A Detox YouTube page if you want to go check those out. Paranoid, someone who was involved with the Ron Fez show, made some songs from the show, and I did music videos for them. They don't really age very well. They're from 2006, 2007, so just know that going in. And I called it a few times as, like, doing characters and stuff like that, and I wish I would have done that more, because Ron and Fez is a fun show, and it just seemed like a cool, creative click, and I really wanted to get into radio, and one day we'll get into the time I tried to get on the Opie and Anthony channel. That'll be a future episode. Maybe the next one. Who knows? That's a bullet dodged, admittedly.
Yeah.
Throw that in the same category as trying to get on that guy with the glasses and Channel Awesome. Glad that never came to fruition, too.
Yeah.
I think I'd be doing a disservice to the audience not explaining who Gavin McInnes is.
Yeah, because I don't fully know who he is either, other than shitty people.
So, originally, he's credited as being the founder of Vice, the media network. He's been outed since then. I'm honestly not 100% sure of the specifics on that. I just know it didn't end well, and Vice has been doing their best to distance themselves from Gavin ever since. Most people know him as the founder of the Proud Boys, which...
That's right, okay.
Originally, if you look at some of the videos and listen to Gavin talk about the Proud Boys, originally started out as kind of a jokey fraternity, admittedly based in Western chauvinism.
Yeah.
If you picture Married with Children's No Ma'am, that Al Bundy starts in the show.
That's right, yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Wow, okay.
It's just a place for guys to be guys and not have, the women cracking down on you so much. People have pointed out that it's a little homoerotic too. I'm not going to say there's a problem with that, and I think fate brought Anthony and Gavin together because they both created groups that grew too big, and they weren't able to control them anymore.
Yeah, and they couldn't even profit off of them as much anymore.
No. Opie and Anthony, I'll throw Opie in there too, because he's just as responsible. The Pest, the O&A Army.
I thought you meant the movie.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Pests, plural. Also the O&A Army. When they had a problem with a rival radio show, they would sick the Army onto their
4chan.
Message boards, their websites, their Facebooks.
I imagine 4chan and O&A have a pretty big overlap.
100%, yeah. And Gavin with his Proud Boys, which spurred off the Alt Knights, which is the more confrontational, violent wing of the Proud Boys. So Gavin will try his best to distance himself from the violent wing of the Proud Boys and claim that he's not responsible for them. But if you listen to the clips in here, he's extremely racist. I mean, there's no sugarcoating that Gavin McInnes is a white supremacist, even if he tries to do the same shtick Anthony does of, it's jokes.
Just because they're jokes doesn't mean that they're not racist.
Right.
Just because they're jokes doesn't mean that you don't believe them.
So we're going to get started with an episode from February. The other ones are way more recent, but this one I thought was worth pointing out as they talk about diversity in gaming.
Wait, what year is this?
This is 2022.
Oh, okay.
Anthony is a gamer. He does, he does Twitch streams when he can, because normally...
He's just so busy.
Well, no. Normally he streams on another streaming website founded by Nick Fuentes because he's too racist for Twitch. Nick Fuentes, who used to be on a few different racist alt-right networks, decided that he's too racist for them, so he decided to launch his own streaming service, which he does his show on, and Anthony will sometimes stream on and get raided by Nick. It's fun. They have a camaraderie. We talk about Nick Fuentes later. I don't want to get too deep into him just yet. Diversity in gaming. Anthony's the gamer. Gavin, not a gamer. You could tell to an extent Anthony doesn't want to seem too dweeby talking about video games with Gavin, who doesn't give a shit. But because, like Alex, and we'll get to Alex too later, Alex Jones, Anthony does want to seem cool around his friends.
Of course he does.
And talking about video games isn't too cool.
Making edgy jokes, obviously.
But if he can be racist and talk about video games, that's the in. That's the Trojan horse.
It'll be like software. They developed this software that's the most advanced shooting game in the world. And people go, nice fucking diversity.
Yeah. What What about the characters? Well, it's a World War II based game, and if we look at
No,
take
the swastikas out of the World War II game.
Take the swastikas out, which they do, and then we need women of color. I play a World War II game. I swear to you, there is a black woman that looks like Queen Latifah, and she's knocking out these jacked German soldiers with the fucking helmets on and everything, like with her gun. She's like, ha, ha. So and you're like, it's Queen Latifah.
Is she NPC? I don't know. Video
no,
games.
this is a character you can play.
You can be her.
You can be her.
Does anyone choose her?
I see them all the time as I'm playing.
Who's choosing her? It's white guys.
I think from listening to the chat sometimes, there's a lot of black dudes on there.
So black dudes want to be a black chick?
Yeah. And then there's this portion of the game at the end where they go MVP, and there's 3 people, and they show like a finishing move or some shit, and you get to vote for which one. And I only vote for the white dude every time.
I only vote for the white guy. Check out later when I talk about virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? Who you fucking vote for in the video game? And of course he plays a World War II video game. And of course he's mad that they take the swastikas out. He's mad he can't play as the Nazis. You know that's the fact.
For one, there were black women in World War II.
Oh.
There were 140,000 women who served in the Women's Army Corps during WW2, and almost 7,000 of them were black.
I know someone would argue that that's a small number, but that's still a percentage. If we're even making the argument that video games need to be historically accurate, this is historically accurate with that percentage, with that statistic. I should also point out that Anthony is a collector of Nazi memorabilia.
Of course he is.
Which, again, probably isn't a surprise for many people listening, but I figured I'd throw that out there because
it's just relevant. History.
It's just history.
Okay, if it's just history, are you collecting anything else that isn't rooted in white supremacy?
I guess I'd have to take a tour of the compound.
Yeah, are you collecting Russian nesting dolls? Are you collecting
Are you collecting any black history?
Yeah, are you
well,
he might
from one side.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say
it's most of shit you'd see at thrift stores.
Yeah, you go into a fucking thrift store down south and you've got Aunt Jemima's, you've got so many blackface dolls.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Just like,
if anything, that would be that. Yeah, for a jokey conversation piece when guest comes over.
Yeah, exactly.
And they could sit on his Met beanbag chairs. So, unsurprisingly, here, out of everything Anthony just said, Gavin is hung up on one very specific detail.
Choosing black women in anti-Nazi games.
Yes,
that's it. White supremacy's boring. Shut up about it. But that's interesting.
That is fascinating.
Maybe they see their mothers as this authority figure.
Yeah, they don't know their dads, so why would they?
Like, what's the most powerful thing in the world?
Oh.
Not me. I'm just a regular dude.
A mama.
My mama.
Yeah.
Whip my ass. So she's stronger than me.
Racist stereotype. They don't know their dads, so the moms in their life are the most powerful people to them. Anthony pulled this out of his fucking ass whenever I play. And at the end of the game, when you hear the people playing, it always seems like black guys are playing this. And Gavin is running with this like it's a fucking phenomena that there's been studies and papers written about. Like, wow, I can't believe it.
So much into it, when in fact,
this thing you just told me.
In fact, it's okay if it's a black man playing as a black woman character. Just judging from the people I've played with, it could still be coming from a place of misogynoir.
Yeah,
where it's like, haha, I'm a black woman. But it's usually, more often than not, white dudes who are playing as black women. And when you say they sound like black guys, a lot of white dudes put on these weird accents when they try to sound like they're, like, quote unquote, sound like they're black.
Yeah.
While they're playing video games. And it's the weirdest thing I've realized in games.
I know I'm doing the exact same thing that Gavin did. Just taking something that was just told to me and running with it, but I believe you.
By claiming that it's like some weird Freudian thing, some Oedipal thing of like, oh, my mother. No. It's as simple as, it would be funny if I played as something I'm not.
That's major.
Isn't that crazy?
Black men secretly fantasize about being the most powerful figure they can imagine.
Which is black
their
woman.
mama.
Their mama. And they play them a lot. I hear the chat, and it's all before the game. They're all standing around, and they're these characters, and they're talking about, hey, Nickel, we fucking kick your ass, fucking. And I'm like, oh, I turn my chat off. I know, I'll just say something terrible.
The first smart thing you've said the whole time, that you turn your fucking mic off. Probably for the best. You probably should have done that 20-something years ago.
Yeah, that's what I was going to fucking say.
Turn your mic off now.
And I think it's funny that earlier he was like, oh yeah, it just sounds like a black man. And it's just like, you just imitated like a child, like
and
a
then
baby.
he does an impression, yeah. And I just turn my mic off, because that alone, I'm going to fly off on
I think there's a black man talking. I'm about to freak out.
I can't take it.
I don't play a female character. I wouldn't do that. And here's the fucked up thing they do with games also these days. There are a selection of people you can choose from, male, female, all different races and everything like that. I always choose a white guy. Sorry. Like I play a Russian. I play a Russian dude.
I'd want a guy with a mustache. Like
You want somebody that
pretend it's me.
Kind of looks like you.
They are so close to getting it. I want to be me.
I want it to represent me.
I'm a white guy with a mustache. I want to play as a white guy with a mustache.
Yeah.
Why
are there black women, though? Why are there black women?
They don't play video games. Only white men with mustaches play video games.
There couldn't possibly be any black women who would play this game. And I can assure you that I have people that I know that are black women who play this game.
They downplay the possibility of minority representation a lot. Some will come up later. But yeah, they're so fucking close. I was laughing that they straight up said out loud, I want to be me. Of course you do. That's the fucking point.
Porn.
Right.
I want to pretend I'm the guy fucking her.
Yes.
So if he has like that weird cow skin with the blotches,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to choose him, because that's definitely not me.
Yeah, he just went off on a little thing about saying when he watches porn, he wants to watch a white guy do the fucking, because
he wants to focus on the important part, which is the dick.
You'd be surprised, but this comes up later too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Now they go into a small conversation about the fucking gall of them, that when you have different characters in video games, that they sometimes give them different abilities.
Now, each of them have a different specialty or attribute or something. So the white guy, like, I'm pretty basic. I can't do many special things. But if you choose the black woman, now you could shoot a fucking grappling hook and get up on things. If you choose the old woman, there's an old woman in this game. Gray hair with a bun, and she's kicking ass. And if you choose her, you can heal people instantly, and with a little dart gun thing, yeah, here you go. You could heal them from a distance and stuff. So they make it like, well, I kind of want to be awesome, so I got to play the Russian woman. Look at this. Now that I could kind of get, because there were Russian woman snipers in World War II or something.
So Anthony's admitting that he knows enough about World War II history that says, oh, well, that kind of makes sense because there's white Russian women, but he can't even for a second believe the possibility that any people of color fought.
Black women soldiers? Not in my realistic WW2 game. Instant healing? No qualms. I'm fine with that.
If I was
instant healing from a distance,
healing?
That's fine. I wager to say that it's more complex than just simply, the white character doesn't have anything and the black character has everything. I doubt that.
And even if that is true, who fucking cares?
Who cares? Play the black character if you want the abilities. Are you that proud of being white and discriminatory against black people that you refuse to play as a black person?
Well, there is a fear that Gavin explains here about possibly wanting to play as women characters and the possibilities.
Oh no, is it a slippery slope?
I have the Street Fighter stand-up game, Street Fighter 2, and if I would never choose her, I don't let my sons choose her. But if you choose-
I don't. When my kids play bloody fighting games, I do not let them choose women.
Don't you dare play as Chun-Li. I will turn this video game off.
I don't even let them play the actual game. They have to play games that I reprogrammed so that it will test their DNA, because that's where the gender is. That's where the gender's stored.
Yeah.
It'll test their DNA.
Yes.
And it will be like, hey, you are boy, you are male. You cannot play as any other.
Chun-Li You're doing all this crazy shit where you're upside down, doing circle kicks.
They want you to choose that person.
So first of all, Capcom wants you to play as this woman character.
They want you to play as all of them.
Why isn't he, especially racist-ass Gavin, why isn't he talking about how the cheesiest fucking character in the whole game, Dalsum, with the stretch ability, is an Indian character? They want you to play as an Indian character. They want you to play as the Brazilian beast hybrid that you can spam electricity.
I think it's funny that of all the games to pick that are like, they want you to play as these properly represented minorities, you choose Street Fighter?
You choose Street Fighter. Because Gavin isn't a gamer, he doesn't know. He doesn't have the frame of reference.
But all of the Street Fighter characters are all stereotypes. So it's like...
And they all have abilities. Why wouldn't you point out how Ryu and Ken have fucking fireballs, or that E Honda can fly across the screen? They all have abilities. Oh, but Chun-Li does the fucking spinning bird kick.
Oh,
that's the issue I have.
They do the circle thing, and it's trying to hypnotize you.
So they want you to play as this woman character who could do this one thing.
They want... No. I wagered to say he would go even a step farther. They want men to play as this woman character.
Well, this is the pipeline that Anthony now goes down. They're just throwing straw men at each other and just seeing how much shit they can...
yeah.
How much blood they can squeeze from this fucking stone.
It's like when I watch a lot of ghost hunting stuff lately. It's like when you have like 4 young men who are just like, yeah, and I heard that there was an evil nun that lived on this. Oh, that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense because I saw over here there was a cross, and then another guy, oh my god, that cross right there. Look at this picture. Look at the shadow.
Whoa.
I thought it was nothing, but now that you say it was a nun, it's not just a tent shadow from over here.
Couldn't be.
It's a nun.
That's the only thing that makes sense now.
They want you to go, well, I guess I'll do this. And then it's like it's like the stepping stone to cutting your fucking dick off and wearing a dress.
Capcom to trans pipeline. They don't talk about Germa to trans pipeline.
No.
That's well known enough.
They force you to play as Jill Valentine. They want you to cut your dick off.
Forced feminization!
Ah!
Capcom, no!
No!
I've said that a few times and people think I'm nuts.
I think you're right.
It's possible this entire trans bullshit movement,
yeah,
including all the ancillary things like I'm a wolf and puppykins and wolfkin, whatever the fuck that is.
That's not transgender at all.
He's just lumping it all together because he doesn't believe any of it's real, so it's all bullshit to him.
I knew somebody who was arguably pretty liberal. You knew them too. Was also one of those people that conflated people who are transgender to people who are, I guess the word would be, like, it's called kinning and stuff, or possibly like furries, or like just another kind of transhuman ideology. Just being like, oh, I'm fine with like people being like, oh yeah, you're a trans woman, you know, like they, them, but like, oh, but then I start hearing like, Z-Zim and like Zir-Zem, and it's like, what? I'm not gonna do that. It's just like, because they assume that that's like not as respectable,
somehow not real. Yeah,
because they assume that that's like, oh, that's what furries and like these kinning people do, and it's like, I understand it might be difficult to learn for some people, but it's just as valid. Like, neopronouns are not just some like otherworldly, like fictional goofy thing that people just think up for funsies.
Yeah, and it's sad because there's plenty of trans people who think that too.
Yeah, exactly.
There are plenty of people who are right there. They always fall down to the same thing of being so paranoid. People who use neopronouns are an affront to trans people. Trans people are an affront to gay people, because it's all about, you're making it harder for the normies to understand us.
Yeah, it's like, no. The normies are making it harder.
The normies are the problem.
It could all be linked to video games.
Yeah.
It could all be linked to video games.
It could
Hold on a fucking second. This dude bro who's in his 80s and playing Call of Duty World War II is sitting here saying that the trans agenda could all be linked to video games. It's not violence in video games that are causing violence in schools anymore. That's not their pull quote that they want to shove down everyone's throat, which is also not true.
Yeah.
It's like, no. It's the trans agenda. Capcom and the trans agenda.
I'm not bringing this up to shame him, because I identify as trans, as a non-binary person. Anthony had a relationship with a trans woman. Where's all this coming from, Ant? Is this coming from some deep-seated...
How public was he with the relationship?
Try to be very secret. Yeah. People found out.
It's making you comfortable with portraying yourself as a female.
Yeah.
Like it's so... And you think, now stop it. It's what it's doing. That's your character. You're like, this is the portrayal of me, and it just makes you that much more comfortable.
Jesus, they're so identified with these video game characters.
So worried, so scared.
It's one thing to find comfort in your video game character and be like, oh yeah, I love playing as this character. Like, I really just, it's cool. But to be so afraid to play a character?
Like, is there realism that people have said that sometimes people will project and play a women character because they are closeted? That is true.
Totally.
Is it an awakening? It can be.
Yeah, because especially in certain games, because you're like, look at all these clothes that like I could wear as this character.
I want to put this out there for anyone who might be on the outside, might not know us, and might be coming from a more leaning towards Anthony and Gavin, possibly, if we're getting any of that kind of attention. I just wanted to let people know that we're not as strongly biased here. I will address that there are some people who that does happen with.
But it's not dangerous.
It's not dangerous.
That's my thing. I am glad that people can have video games as an outlet to be like, oh my goodness, egg timer ticking?
And do you not think that there might be people playing the video game that play as the male characters too? You're not talking about that, no, are you, though?
No,
You're not talking about trans mask people, you're only talking about trans women.
No, because if you were to flip it, they'd probably argue, of course a woman would want to play as a man.
Not?
They want to be powerful, big, manly. Who doesn't want to be a man?
Although he did just say that the white male character is basic.
Well, that's because he's basic.
He only sees himself in the game.
And we don't have to keep this in because I feel like it sort of perpetuates, oh, this person only did this because they're gay. Oh, that's just projecting like homosexuality.
Right, yeah.
But the fear, what you fear in other people is often what's in you.
It is true. And the reason I do want to leave it in is because there are times Anthony will say things throughout his childhood. A narrative that could be built here is that there is, maybe not that he's gay per se, but that there is some very deep-seated homophobia in him.
Yeah.
That it's coming out here.
Yeah.
It might not be internalized homophobia against himself.
Or transphobia.
Right. But it definitely came from somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get there, too.
And I feel that you don't necessarily need to be trans or queer or gay or what have you to have these internalized phobias.
Right.
But if you are attracted to people in that community, then it can, and that's where true danger comes out.
Right.
Because then, if you're attracted to somebody in those communities and it's like, oh, I can't let anybody know about this.
What does it say about me?
What does it say about me? What does it mean about me? I gotta play as me.
Anthony will go on tirades. None of them are interesting enough to keep in here.
Yeah.
About how Opie is so fixated on what other people think of him. He moved to a more expensive city when they got the jobs in Boston because he wanted to seem more hoity-toity. I'm not saying any of this is fake either. This very well could be true, but both could be true.
It's also sounding very projecty.
I mean, guy who moved into a fucking mansion.
Empty mansion.
Empty mansion.
It's literally all a facade.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
The facade of the house.
Talking about the house he lives in now, the big apartment. All that. Oh, he does all these things. He goes on vacation in Turks and Caicos. He doesn't do it because he wants to do it. He wants to do it so he can brag to people and seem more upscale than he actually is. a lot of projecting also.
Yeah.
It could be true about Opie, but I also think it could be very possibly true about Anthony as well.
Yeah. I mean, they got along for a long time, so I can see that.
This is a discussion from September, so it's a bit more recent. They're talking about some racial dating statistics when it comes to dating apps.
Because I'm sure those are accurate.
You look at dating statistics, and it shows, like on these Tinder apps, it shows white males are the least racist. They don't really care.
Wait. Actually, according to dating app statistics that I have no sources for,
He does bring up a source.
I have one source for. White men are the least racist. Period.
He does expound on that.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah, any chance he possibly can.
I'm sure he does.
Well, that makes sense. Just put my dick in something.
First of all, that's a fucking lie. That's a fucking lie, Anthony. You say that when you would never have a relationship with a woman of color. Never! Why would you even for a second lie like that?
I'll put my dick in anything.
I'm so manly.
A log.
I'd fuck a tree stump. Fuck a mattress.
Cushion.
Fucking microwave a goddamn Ziploc bag, a fucking mayonnaise. I'll fuck anything. Gotta put my dick in something.
It's too hot.
This face. Put my dick in something. Ugh.
Yeah, black males do not prefer their own race.
Ha!
He hates black women so much.
He hates black people a lot.
Specifically black women.
He hates black women. And it's funny. It's not funny. But it's interesting to point out that this is all based on the incident that got him fired.
Yeah.
He acts like it's the greatest thing to ever happen to him. Because now he can say whatever he wants. He doesn't have to answer to management. He can be his own boss. He decided his own start and end time for his show. He makes the rules.
He lives in an empty house. A huge empty house. He's all alone. He has no friends. He loves it.
He loves it so much.
They are so marginalized that gives them power.
Oh, yeah.
That means
They were able to get me fired.
They got me fired. That's a lot of power.
Even though he straight up admits that, like, Sirius would have fired him eventually for something he'd said. Which is true.
Yeah.
He would have eventually got himself fired. I'm honestly, it does really say a lot about Sirius that he was able to have a job for 10 years. I was saying racist stuff, even more racist than I said on Twitter.
Yeah.
And they never said anything to me or anything.
I just kept shoving that envelope in their face, and they were just like, okay.
It was the fact that it was now in public, and let me just say this straight up. This is a critique of Sirius.
Yeah,
They absolutely dropped the ball, and they should have done something sooner. But, yeah, the fact that it was now out in the public, that people not behind a paywall could see how racist he was on Twitter without having to pay a subscription fee. They were able to see this blue check mark, how incredibly racist he was. That was when it became a problem for Sirius. That's when everybody could see, wow, this Sirius employee of 10 years has been this racist the whole time?
This is the story I'm creating in my head. He hates black women a lot.
Yep.
He got fired because he claimed a black woman
assaulted
him.
He didn't get fired because he was assaulted.
Yeah, no.
He was fired because of what he said on Twitter.
And I want when he talks about what he was photographing.
Yes.
He's got a lot of extraneous details that he remembers from years by.
Yeah, because the book came out in like 2017.
Yeah, so like, I wouldn't put it past him to have actually been photographing a black woman.
He could have, yeah.
And
he also says that the woman was walking away from him, but the first picture, she's walking towards him.
Yeah, how did you get a picture of, okay, you said to the black woman that you weren't taking pictures of her. How do you have a picture of her?
You straight up said there's nobody out there at night. And you
happened to
get a photo with someone in frame?
That close? I think you were taking pictures of black women when you shouldn't be taking pictures of people without their consent. And you got your ass kicked, rightfully so, and then you got real mad that you got caught.
And I also got to say, because I said this last time when I was talking about how he got the race of the woman that he was alleging was in the car with the Boston mayor.
Oh, right.
He's like, oh, it was a young Haitian boy. When it ended up being like a Cuban woman or something like that. He says, I got home at like 3:30. He started tweeting at 2:30. And I wasn't reading this out when I was reading the tweets. He was tweeting for like 3 hours. Those tweets were across like 3 hours.
I was taking these really cool pictures with my really cool camera. Here are the details of the camera and exactly what I was taking pictures of.
He's a really weird writer, and the fact that he straight up was like talking about the brand of camera. It's not relevant to really be talking about, but it's weird the way he writes.
I hate the way he writes. And also, worst audiobook I've ever heard.
Is it bad?
Yeah, I've listened to a good bit of audiobooks, and it just sounded like... It sounded worse than his radio show.
Yeah. I don't want to jump ahead too much because we'll talk about it eventually, but since you brought it up, there is a point in the book where he talks about having a woman over and he was going to have sex with her. She's like, no, I don't think we should have sex. And he said, okay, is it okay if I just put the tip in? He didn't just put the tip in.
Wait, how did I bring this up? What is...
Because once he says that, you hear laughter in the background, and he says, what a fucking asshole. He's laughing at himself in the book, and they left it in.
What the fuck?
I was a couple of years past my 45th birthday when I asked her, can I just put in the tip? What an asshole. When I said this, she laughed her ass off. She thought it was the funniest thing and let me put in the tip. At which point, much like the video of that horse fucking the guy in the ass so hard it killed him, I pushed. The tip turned into balls deep in 2 seconds.
Oh, you remember that part where I talk about literal sexual assault in my book? I should leave in the part where I laugh about it.
It was self-published, wasn't it?
It has to have been.
Because he recorded the audiobook himself.
Yeah.
And then he handed out these blank tapes to people on the New York strip, just like,
you gotta pay me for that.
You gotta pay. No. You don't, no.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
You gotta pay me for it. It's yours.
No,
you
it's
gotta
yours.
pay me.
Like, no. Yeah, just
That's fucking him. That's him.
He's giving the CD out on the fucking subway.
They want white chicks or Asians.
Black women prefer black men more than anything, but as you look at the data, it's not reciprocated.
So
they're sitting there longing for black men. Black men are longing for whites and Asians. Asian women are longing for Asians and the occasional white.
Right.
White guys are anyone's dog for a bone.
Yeah.
And black women are like, where's the stat where they're chasing
out in the cold?
Yeah.
No one wants to.
Everyone has someone behind them. And this isn't my racist belief.
Hey, I'm here.
Whoever edited this clip put up a picture of Bill Burr when Anthony started doing that voice, which was a Bill Burr impression. He's married to a black woman, and they do a podcast together. And I want to bring this out, too, because I don't know when else we talk about it, that Bill Burr used to be a frequent guest on the Opie and Anthony show. And they had a falling out after Anthony got fired. A lot of comedian friends distanced themselves from him, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Because whether or not they want to admit it or not, a lot of them were just using O&A for publicity.
Of course.
Because why the fuck wouldn't you? It's a radio show. They do the rounds. They do every show.
It's networking.
Oh, they spend hours on our show, so they love us. Yeah, that might be true, but they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't get publicity out of it. So Bill eventually fell off, and was a little resentful of
You're going to
that.
say he was a little rascal.
He was a little rascal, a little rapscallion. And eventually it came down to Anthony's followers started harassing Bill's wife.
But why the fuck should I call him and be like, dude, first of all, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be sorry about. I'm supposed to be sorry that I didn't tell my fans to not do something.
Your fans called his wife ugly, and that pissed her off.
Yeah. And meanwhile, you tell your fans to not do something? I mean, him, as far as anyone should know, what you tell O&A fans, because that's what we're dealing with, to not do, they will do 10 times more.
Right.
I deal with trolls and these people on a daily basis. You think that's going to stop it? So I just sat and thought, like, no, there's no reason I need to do that.
Can't show up on your show. I can't do anything. You've gone too far.
Yeah.
And as much as Anthony can act like he doesn't give a shit, ooh.
He gives a shit.
Oh, that is such a fucking...
I've been betrayed.
He hates people that fucking betray him. When it's straight up, like...
It's a reaction to you being shitty.
Yeah.
You betrayed trust, business trust, at very least.
I'm not going to blame Bill too much on this, but he knows the O&A audience. He knows the pests.
Yeah, it's sort of a... I mean, shit. Even us doing this small thing makes me paranoid of that audience.
Right.
You know, like, so yeah.
I worry too sometimes, but then I think about Knowledge Fight and how they've been doing their show for like 5 years, and they're extremely public about even where they live sometimes, and Alex Jones's people have never gotten that. We're looking at the trial.
Yeah.
And why people are suing him. And they've never faced anything even remotely like that. And something that a big difference between Alex Jones's show and Compound Media is that you don't need a subscription to listen to Alex Jones either.
Right.
He's syndicated to radio stations. I don't think we're going to do too many shows, even though this has actually brought up a lot of discussion and it's been a lot of fun. I don't want to focus too much on Compound Media. You need a subscription. The audience isn't nearly that big. And that's why I'm not really worried about its show as having pull or having power.
Yeah.
Over, like, change, like systemic change. Alex Jones has been pointed out for deciding the 2016 election. Compound Media would never have that much influence.
They wish.
Yeah, of course. Following this discussion about the racist dating, what Gavin is talking about, there's a chart I was able to find.
Oh, okay.
That has been used in a few different articles from credible sources, or at least high-profile sources like Wired.
Well, okay,
like
I'd like to point out, it doesn't matter how high-profile the person using the source is.
Right.
It's how accurate the source is.
Right.
And ideally, more than one source.
Yeah.
At least 5?
At least 5 sources. And what they're going off here is matches. If a black woman will swipe on a white guy, how often will the white guy swipe on the person who swiped them? And that's what he's going off, is that, you know, black women will swipe on black guys all the time, but they won't swipe back. And what I don't know if any of these articles really talk about, but I wanted to, the point of the dating apps is to give people the ability to match with people that they wouldn't normally meet.
Yeah, you can go to a bar and, like, meet somebody or whatever. There are so many confounding variables that are going to be present in this single source.
Yeah.
Because it's not a study. It isn't actually a study. They took raw data from the algorithm within the app, which we don't know how flawed it is. Then when it comes to white guys, of course white guys aren't going to be discriminatory in terms of who they're dating, because they're always going to have power over everybody.
Yeah.
People don't take into account how scary dating apps are. Because if you're a white guy who's cis-het, big, tall, strong, you're going to swipe on whatever you want just for the funsies. And you're just going to be like, yeah, you know, I have all this power. I can swipe however I want. But the more and more marginalized you get, the more scary it gets.
Yeah.
So, like, I think fear is the biggest factor that you can really find in this source.
And racist people will still fuck people who from minority groups.
Yeah, and
that
still
does
put them in
not mean
danger.
you're not racist.
That does not mean that doesn't mean you're
white people are the least racist because they'll fuck Asian women and black. That doesn't mean they're not racist.
That does not mean, like, there were people who literally owned enslaved people.
Yeah.
And raped them.
Yeah.
They're still very racist.
Yeah.
Arguably the epitome of racist.
Yeah.
But you're right.
And that inevitable truth, which you can look it up, it's statistically accurate. This is not an opinion. That's got to chip away at you after a while.
Oh, your self-esteem, your fucking, like, the resentment and anger that you get. I've seen black women go bullshit over whenever black athletes grab, you know, they make a few bucks and they'll grab that white chick.
And they always do.
Yeah. And they're like, what? I can't find a good black man. Oh, I white women. It's like, yeah, because, you know, first of all, look at you. Secondly, listen to you. Like,
because Anthony's not talking about specific people.
No.
He's talking about all black women. Generalized.
Look at you.
Look at you. Listen to you.
Yeah.
Listen to this caricature I created.
Yeah.
That in my head is what every black woman sounds like.
Yeah.
And it honestly, it only gets worse from here.
what's her name, Serena Williams or the Williams sisters, and they're like, they are beautiful too. No. There's the black women that have the white features, and then there's that.
They went in this whole big tirade about Meghan Markle.
Okay.
And how she might as well be white. Look at her.
I mean, she is light-skinned compared to a lot of black people.
But according to Anthony, they're not. They're not, because they're white passing enough that they don't count in discussions about black women.
I mean, like, colorism is a whole other thing to talk about.
And is it something for Anthony to talk about?
Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
No.
You can tell he's thought about this kind of shit a lot.
Yeah.
But not deeply. It's a shallow assessment on my part, but it still just sort of screams that, like, he fetishizes black women.
Yeah.
Like, when you have caricatures in your head, I mean, even look at cartoons, like literal caricatures of specific groups of people.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're just fetishizing certain aspects of them.
Yeah.
You look at
Almost
a caricature of a black woman,
yeah,
very fetishized.
Uh-huh.
It's not just dark skin and certain bodily things that are caricaturized.
Facial features.
And I mean, even as far back as like the fucking 1700s.
Right. Yeah.
You see fetishized caricatures of black women.
Yeah.
Seems like he needs to fucking go to therapy and stop being a danger. Shit.
Well, there's Alec Weck. Remember we talked about her a long time ago?
Which one is she?
So the fashion industry is in powerful denial of this phenomenon. And they take the like piece of coal.
Social phenomena he's referring to that's based off this one statistic that refers to dating sites.
Apply it everywhere.
Everywhere. And at the very end of that clip now, referring to a black-skinned woman as a piece of coal.
Yeah.
This only gets worse.
And they're like, this is actually prettier than Farrah Fawcett.
Right.
And you're like, I like the sentiment. It seems nice that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it's really not.
Is that the one that's like jet black?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She looks like a cool little 12-year-old soccer boy who's a prodigy over like Roslyn High.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's like unbelievable on the soccer team. In fact, he's only 12, but he's playing high school soccer.
Yeah, he's the best.
He's with the freshmen.
That's hilarious.
I don't know where Gavin got off, but he went on this whole big tear saying that this model looks like a 12-year-old soccer player. I don't know where he came up with this. Anthony goes along acting like he gets the reference. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, she is like black.
Like, how is that a pretty woman? Sorry.
I don't see it.
How is that a pretty woman?
I'm sorry, I don't see it.
I don't see it.
So she's not. It's impossible because I don't agree.
Like, I just don't see it.
Like, in Canada, where everyone wants to date a black guy, if that was in a suit.
If that was in a suit.
And also in Canada, where everyone wants to date a black guy? What?
I don't know. Gavin is Canadian, but I don't know where he gets that statistic from. He didn't bring that one up.
Yep.
And had a deep voice. I'd be like, hey, have you met my friend from Laos? He's visiting. There would be girls flirting with him.
Oh, yeah. You'd be like, oh, you're one of the boys from Laos.
I wanted to point out the very end of that clip, and the only reason I left it in was because how Anthony had absolutely nothing. Gavin goes, meet my friend. He's this cool guy from Laos. And Anthony just goes, oh, yeah, like one of those boys from Laos.
And it's like, but you don't know what they call themselves, do you?
He has
know it's Laotian.
Yeah, and he has no idea.
From Laos.
And he has nothing to add, so he just echoes and mirrors what Gavin said. Because he wants to be funny, but he can't. Yeah. This next part is really weird. It starts in a discussion about NoFap.
NoFap November?
Yes. This is from the October 5th episode. It begins with a discussion about how Gavin thinks that the whole NoFap November thing is a good idea, and why it was originally part of the Proud Boys mentality.
Is not beating off to you like a alcoholic with booze? Do you think about it and go fuck, or do you just not even think about it?
I on this very show, it was with Dante Nero, and we tried it as a joke. Let's do 10 days.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I could do a month. That's why it's in the Proud Boys.
Yeah.
Because we did it as a Seinfeld kind of joke.
Of course.
You're just smarter, better. you're more driven. Your relationship is
It doesn't
better.
make you like tired or just a little lethargic.
I want to
Holding in all your cum makes you a superhero.
Yeah.
You're not holding it in anyway. You're emitting it at night a lot of times, so.
I want to preface this by saying that Gavin and Anthony do not look at porn then. Because they just said. Gavin was saying not jerking off makes you smarter, makes you better, makes you more focused. And Anthony agrees. You're right. You're not so tired. You're not as lethargic.
If I was watching porn, I'd appreciate a filter where you could not have black dudes drilling
Oh, God.
the girls you like.
All that shit. When you go through compilations, especially in porn, you're just kind of like, oh, get out of here.
They just talked about how they don't jerk off and then immediately go into very specific aspects of porn.
Yeah, but also it sort of proves your point because you realize you don't have to watch every porn you see. You can just keep scrolling and look for other things.
No, I just wish there was a filter.
I keep searching for like black guy fucks white girl and there's always a black guy
all
in
that
it.
comes up.
Like, how do I get out of here? I went on fucking, what is that problematic website? Blacked. I went on Blacked and there's always black guys. I don't know what to do with this. It's like,
There's no shortage of white dudes in porn, Anthony and Gavin.
Yeah.
I just, all these rakes. I'm stepping on all these rakes. I just can't get away from them.
that's like when you were sleep talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like,
Why am I standing on this big rake?
why am I standing on this big rake?
So Gavin has a friend.
Nuh-uh. I honestly do not believe that.
I already don't believe it.
Fake.
She is also a porn star, and he talks.
Fake. No, there are plenty of terrible porn stars out there.
Oh yeah, and he has some really interesting information about her.
Oh no.
I think
Mercedes
you're right.
Carrera, who we had on the show many times, has been accused of pedophilia.
Oh, no.
Wait, what? Who?
Mercedes Carrera.
She does sound familiar.
I just love how Anthony's face, you can't really see it, but he goes from to oh no as soon as he says
I
it.
didn't know who said "oh no."
That's Anthony.
I
Mercedes
think you're right.
Carrera, who we had on the show many times, has been accused of pedophilia.
Oh, no.
She had her
If you look it up right now, all you're gonna find are articles about how she's been charged with pedophilia, but you'll probably at least get a picture of her.
I don't
Besides her mugshot. Gamergate's Mercedes
Yeah.
Carrera arrested for sexual assault of a young child. So it's not a big surprise that Gavin is friends with Mercedes. How she was
we're looking at the exact same article.
in the early days a very vocal supporter of the Gamergate. I don't even know what you would call it. Fiasco.
Yeah.
Just the blaming women for online harassment they receive. She's been in jail for a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gavin has some updates about her.
I think
Mercedes
you're right.
Carrera, who we had on the show many times, has been accused of pedophilia.
Oh, no.
She had her trial on Monday.
How'd that work out?
I don't know. I can't get a hold of her. She stopped sending me letters, and everyone I know says, "Why are you defending a fucking pedophile?" Which I understand, but it's my friend, so I don't believe the allegation. I'm leaving a window open of 5% out of 100.
For a woman, what are the allegations? That's
The allegation is that her daughter was around during porn shoots, but they took her hard drives. They found no evidence, and they said,
How old was the daughter?
12.
Ooh, okay. Here's the problem.
Well, yeah, if she was there, I would want Mercedes to be killed.
In late July, law enforcement officials in Rancho Cucamonga, California, received a complaint from a girl less than 10 that a local couple had, for a span of 4 months, subjected her to regular sexual abuse, including...
Oh, that's way
It's
worse
more
than
specific than
that's
that.
way worse than just like saw my mom taking nudes for OnlyFans.
Wednesday, after the couple had been arrested and charged and arraigned, CBS Los Angeles reported that the two suspects were Jason Whitney, 43, and Melinda Smith, 35.
What? Oh, so
Better
that was-
known as
okay.
Damian Sins and his girlfriend Mercedes Carrera. The woman once dubbed Gamergate's porn star patron. Rancho Cucamonga officials charged Carrera and Sins with 1 count of gun possession and 8 counts of child abuse, both having pleaded not guilty. But Carrera, whose defense of the 2015 harassment campaign known as Gamergate prompted a fawning profile in the Daily Caller and praise from conspiracy theorist Mike Genovich, has a history of online harassment, attacking assault victims, and baselessly accusing people of pedophilia on Twitter.
But she stopped writing me, and she was writing me like a letter almost every day.
Oh, shit.
Several calls a week, probably like 5 calls a week.
And then nothing.
And then nothing.
That's fucked up.
And this is after her being in jail for 2 years.
You didn't say anything about the pedophilia being fucked up. You said, oh, no.
You just said, oh, no. Yeah. Because Anthony doesn't know anything. He only knows what Gavin is telling him.
Yeah.
He's seriously like, oh, you know, Mercedes, who we've had on the show before. Oh, yeah. I remember her.
Yeah, you should have known about this.
Yeah, you didn't hear about this? You didn't wonder why she hasn't been around for years?
Anybody hear about this?
Oh.
So I don't think she's guilty.
She got no bail or just couldn't get bail?
No bail.
They put her in there for no bail.
No bail. And her ex...
Not that I'm saying it. Like, no, I'm not even going to say that. Fuck that. Whatever.
Her ex...
I don't know what Anthony was going to say there.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I think maybe he wanted to try to draw some line of defense, but then realized, I don't know anything about this. Maybe I shouldn't say anything.
That, whatever.
Her ex-husband
is
this born-again Christian that wanted full custody. And he was the one who got the daughter talking.
Oh, see, that.
And she said to me, the weird thing about him is he was a deadbeat dad and he was never around. And then one day he decided he wanted to be with the girl. And that's when all this shit started.
That's always...
And every time I talked to her on the phone, she was like, I just want to die. Like, can they just blow up? Can they just blow up this fucking prison?
I don't know where it came from. They were talking about No Fap November. Absolutely diverts to talking about, oh, you know, by the way, that porn star we used to have on the show a lot, who's been accused of pedophilia, she tells me she wants to die. I don't know why Anthony would want to hear about this. He clearly doesn't. And I have no idea why it came up. It really did just come up out of nowhere.
Weird.
Anthony leaves to take a piss, and Gavin is left alone talking to the producer, Garrett.
So, innocent till proven guilty. I stand by her. I talk to her on the phone. I don't know what the fuck is going on, and if she's guilty, I want her to die.
Does her silence raise your percentage of guilt?
Her silence is the past 2 weeks. She's been in there for 2 years. She's been sending me a letter, honestly, pretty much every day.
But like maybe something came out in the trial where it's like obvious and she's embarrassed?
No, the trial was Monday. It's fucking Wednesday.
Oh.
Maybe her lawyer was like, maybe don't talk to Gavin. It might help you.
Yeah, I think that's totally plausible. I'm laughing, but that's totally plausible.
I've lost a lot of friends.
That's so funny. It's very funny, but that is possible.
I'm a terrible person.
Even being affiliated with me could hurt your cause.
Yeah.
Here is a really troubling story.
Yeah.
Right, like with Proud Boys research this week.
Yeah, where do you guys keep your kitty?
Guys were accused of stealing money, and they kept saying, okay, if I stole money, call the cops. I've noticed that's the thing. Call the cops. When guys are innocent, they tend to say that. Like, I used to hang out with this guy, Derek Beckles, and he was dating this girl, and she got by this dude who was like an American Indian artist guy. And we're like, well, let's go kick his ass. So we went to his house, rang his doorbell. We're going to beat him up for. And he wasn't there. Okay. My buddy Derek smudged shit on his door, I believe, allegedly.
I believe, allegedly. Weird way to phrase that.
Weren't you there with him?
Yeah, right.
And then a few days later, he was having an art show. So we go, let's go to this fucking art show and fuck this guy up. And we're like, hey, dude, you are a friend. You're going to die. And he goes, wait, what? What the fuck are you talking about? Call the cops. Call the cops right now. Like, I want to go on trial. I want to explain myself. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And after he said that, we were like, that's not a common guy thing.
What? How would you know if that's a common rapist guy thing?
I don't know. But just...
And also saying, okay, then call the cops. I've literally known people who have broken total laws and have said that.
But they weren't Proud Boys, though.
They probably are now.
Yeah, that's true. And at the end of the clip here, we see exactly how easy Gavin is to persuade.
To say, I've got a sneaking suspicion she's an insane lying bitch, and you didn't anyone.
All it took for this accused rapist
Yeah, exactly.
was to say, call the cops, I want to go on trial for this.
Yeah.
And immediately, Gavin and the Proud Boys went, oh, this Proud Boy in our circle, his girlfriend, is a lying bitch. Immediate victim blaming.
Yeah, and I mean, like, especially when it comes to sexual assault, like, of course you're gonna trust another dude over the accuser because it's another dude.
Yeah, of course if you're fucking Gavin.
Women are fucking liars. Women just want money, and you know, like, it always seems like they like to boil it down to, oh, they just want the money. What money?
Yeah.
What money ever? When? Where?
You were ready to go to this guy's house and kill him. All it took was for him to say, call the cops, and you immediately don't believe her anymore.
That's basically the same tactic, totally different situations, but the same tactic that I use whenever I've almost come into like a physical altercation with somebody. I just go all in. I act as deranged as possible, and I'm literally about to throw up and like drool all over the place, and also hit on you and just like make you feel very uncomfortable.
Right.
But I'm not gonna do any of the things that I'm like suggesting I'm gonna do.
Right.
I'm not actually gonna beat the shit out of you. I might actually throw up, but you know what I mean?
I'll definitely cry.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm crying, pissing, shitting. Oh, now fight me.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. You go in and you're like, fight me then. You know, like, it's a bluff.
Yeah.
How is it so hard? Why would you think that that's a thing innocent people do?
I don't, because he's had so many experiences with guys. He noticed this. When guys say this, they're almost always innocent.
This guy doesn't seem like a rapist.
So I know this is a weird place to stop.
But it's a cliffhanger.
It is a cliffhanger because we've got a lot of more clips to go through. Just to give you all a taste of what we talk about here. Anthony and Gavin's take on the use of sign language. We get to learn Anthony and Gavin's opinion on anti-Semitic incel Nick Fuentes. We also get to listen to a short discussion about whether or not men should be happy. And I know this is more time sensitive and probably should have put it in this first half. But they discuss the Alex Jones $1 billion verdict.
Oh.
And whether or not they think that's called for.
It'll be relevant for like years.
That's true, yeah. I mean, this is a precedent-setting defamation lawsuit. We'll be talking about the $1 billion settlement forever. And some other stuff. So there'll be a trigger warning for the next episode as well. Sorry, everybody.
Sorry, bad time.
Sorry, it's a bad time. But we'll talk more about Anthony and Gavin and their shenanigans and all the bullshit that they're getting into next time on the next episode of O&A Detox.